on the Housing Upgrade Program Phase 2. Thanks for joining us here today. I'll pass over to Mario and Peter.
Kia ora. So today we're here to present an update to HUP 2 following the program business case approval in April through the Social, Cultural and Economic Committee. I guess the key thing is, as part of that approval, one of the resolutions was that officers would come back quarterly and present progress on the program, and there was a number of key parameters that elected members were interested in and having oversight on. So look, what I'll do first is we'll run through what the approved business case kind of set, what the investment outcomes and objectives were, the resolutions, and then we've got a slide in here about the investor, effectively recognition of council as the investor and some work that's currently underway to frame an agreement to confirm or to clarify the governance relationship and commitments and objectives between officers and elected members, and then get into the progress report itself. The progress report, I guess, is our first cut of trying to present back in a succinct form what we think elected members want to see. So happy to receive feedback if it's not enough, too much, confusing, whatever it may be. Happy to take that feedback and update the report accordingly. So look, I'll go quite quickly, and you just let me know if you want, if there's any questions. I'm happy to stop and clarify. So in summary, the approved business case sort of approved effectively 50 projects, 825 units, and a delivery duration of about 10 years, and at a cost of 446 million. And I guess the key thing was it was based on the most optimal net present value calculation. So ultimately, and for the net present value to continue to inform the delivery of the program as we went through. So whilst we think we identified what represented the best whole life cycle costs in the program, there was a recognition that things change over time, and what we effectively estimated at the front end of the program might change as we move through it. So there being some flexibility to change the scope of the program if we face some headwinds, or our perceptions change. I guess the key investment outcomes and objectives framed around this slide. So really, the benefits that we're trying to achieve in the program is meet the deed of grant commitments, make sure that our supply of social housing is maintained, that the mixture of typologies fit for purpose, so effectively that they reflect our current and future needs, that tenants aren't adversely affected, they continue to be housed and their wellbeing considered, best whole life cycle cost, and the debt burden associated with funding the program is maintained. So these are the specific resolutions. I won't run through any of them, but I guess all of them. But I guess the key thing, the most notable relative to this presentation today, is the KPIs and the parameters that sit around the report itself. So really, what was requested was the cost of the work completed, the milestones, budget, including contingency expenditure. Other KPIs such as the net present value impact of the work, tenant disruption, changes to targeted mix, and also any proposals received from external parties. I guess aside from this engagement, there was also a request for an annual committee workshop to work through, I guess, the program in further detail about whether we're continuing to head in the right direction. So I guess this next slide is the initial thinking, or to ensure that the relationship between officers and elected members is maintained in an appropriate way, and that we're giving you the right information, is framing something which I guess really sets out a shared understanding of what the program is looking to achieve and the relationship between elected members and officers and the roles and responsibilities of each. And Jenny, I might pass to you, because you're probably better at defining.
You can see I'm itching to say something. Is that all right? Yep. Okay, so this is what we've been talking about with the SMF project, where what we're going to try and do for major capital projects going forward is put together, when you make your initial agreement to put the money into these projects, put together an accountability agreement between the SRO and the council that basically sets out a really transparent understanding of what you've agreed to, the operating context in which you agreed to it, so we don't have to go back researching all that, because that's what we'd spent a lot of time on with SMF. So just protects you and the council officers in terms of just the context of the decision at the time. And then talks about the project responsibilities, the process, the decision-making rights, how we're going to deal with reporting, escalation, what you're going to see and when, that kind of thing. And what you've got today in the pack later on is an example of the reporting side of it, but the accountability agreement will just go a little further and talk about context. So it's a really good base document for anyone who's coming in or anyone new 3 years later to go back and say, what was the agreement here? What did council agree on? What was the context at the time? What did council expect in terms of reporting and escalation and information flows going forward? We'll try and start to build these up for the new council for all the capital projects. That will be a conversation with the next council as to how they want to do that. But my expectation would be that as we get more and more of them, we would start to fold them in, and I've had a chat with Andrew about this, into the quarterly reporting, and this would form part of that. That information will become into that process. So it's a heads up. It's not formed yet, but it's a heads up of the intent that that's where we'd like to go.
Hi, we've got a few people on the party list. I just wondered if there were any natural moments where we would be a good time to pause or wrap up, or should we? Is stopping for party now?
Happy to keep going. I guess the next slide is really the report itself, so it might be
Questions on that piece?
yeah, question to pause after the report for questions.
Sounds good. First question, Councillor Young.
So just what I don't understand is I thought under the deed of
Councillor Young, could you just speak a little clearer into the microphone so our colleagues online? I know.
Usual. What I don't understand is I thought under the deed of grant social housing was going to be ring-fenced from ratepayers, and yet that's clearly not the case. So if we are breaching it on one part of the deed of grant, I mean, I'm just wondering where we are placed with that.
I can probably help with that. Councillor, through you, Chair, we are ring-fencing this. What that looks like, though, it doesn't mean to say that every year the activity breaks even. It means that we have deficits in many of the first years or the next 10 years of the ring fence. But over time, and that's over a long period of time, that starts to those deficits start to be covered off, paid off. The reason we take a long-term view is because with buildings, they have a long life cycle. So we need to take a much longer view than 10 years. But everything is absolutely ring-fenced in this social housing portfolio.
So when you said over the next 10 years, but this has been going on for 20 years, did we do the deed of grant?
The deed of grant, I think, was originally signed in 2018.
2008.
2008, sorry. Look, I don't know the history of that. I don't know how that's been ring-fenced. It's certainly been ring-fenced since the establishment of Te Toi Mahana and through our finances, but
part of one of the conditions contained within the deed of grant was to ring fence effectively the social housing portfolio, so that any revenue generated in the social housing portfolio went back into the social housing portfolio.
But
I can't answer that one.
No, the losses are at the moment, so we're doing a large amount of capital works, and so we're using debt to fund that, and we've ring-fenced all of that, so that is paid off right throughout. So ratepayers are not funding anything. we're drawing down debt, and the interest on that debt is continued to be ring fenced. So it is entirely ring fenced from those that are accommodated in social housing, not
you.
through ratepayers.
I'm just glad I haven't got your job. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll just keep it to the business in front of us today, team. Councillor Brown.
Just one little detail about this is that as the MPV changes, as it will inevitably over time, plus to Andrea's point, the balance sheet changes, will those things be reflected in the reports?
Yes.
Right, thanks.
Councillor Matthews.
Yeah, I'm quite interested in this concept of an accountability agreement. I mean, I guess, my nervousness is that it not be a sort of a bureaucratic layer, but that it be useful information. And I'm wondering, the first thought I had was about how it fit into quarterly reporting. And I'm also wondering if we're sort of thinking about how it fits into annual and long-term planning.
Through you, Chair. Thank you. Yeah, first point, absolutely, we don't want more bureaucracy. So we're trying to design it so it's a helpful record, not a bureaucratic 30-page document. So the draft we've got at the moment is only about 4 or 5 pages. It's not intended to be a really long thing. But I think it just does add value in cementing what you've agreed to and what you expect from officers in terms of the ongoing relationship with the SRO and yourselves on that project. So as we get more, we don't want them to be randomly throughout the year at different times if they're all running to different sort of quarterly cadences. So Andrew and I talked yesterday about over time looping them into the quarterly reports. And we haven't quite got as far as planning or annual reports yet, but that's a great point. We'll have a think about it.
Yeah, I think, the quarterly reports are inherently a report on our performance that is within the LTP or the annual plan itself. So it needs to be within that rhythm. And I think, it's particularly useful to have this document because we've had a lot of questions and discussion previously around what is elected members' role in some of these projects where we have different governance groups and, your role as city governors versus project governors and having that clarity in writing, particularly for a program that goes over a decade, is going to be really important. And it's, so I don't see it as bureaucratic. I just think it's a useful reference point and that's what it's intended for. Yeah.
Hi. Just supplementary to that, I understand, would we be is this a model that is had been used before? I know that was it the Infrastructure Commission kind of made that separation of governance?
So through you, it's the Infrastructure Commission does talk about the different roles of an SRO and an investor and that kind of all the different spaces. Council is an asset owner and investor who've got multiple roles. I haven't seen this done in all the organisations I've been in yet. So it is a bit of a first for all the places I've been. So we've got an opportunity to trailblaze here and to lead in good project governance. And I think we can do that. Yeah, but it's raised as a possible tool by the Infrastructure Commission and encouraged.
Right. Partai, Councillor Free, and then we can jump back in.
So I'm a little bit interested in the issue that Nicola raised. I understand it's ring-fenced, but we're also creating extra debt within that ring-fenced pool. What I would be interested in knowing is when will we get the first indications if it's becoming unsustainable? So the debt level is such that, the interest payments are actually such that the model's clearly spiralling out of control. What safeguards will we put in to notify elected members?
Look, we have a very low cost of debt as a council, and actually doing work and maintaining assets that have a long life. Debt is one of the most effective tools that you can use to spread your costs over the period in which it relates, how the asset is being used. So
not saying it's necessarily bad, but when you're trying to ring fence it.
Absolutely. And that is a really important concept. you know, we will always continue to review the model. And a couple of weeks ago, I think there was an amendment put up to review the model. We will continue to look at the model and make sure that we're funding this in the most sustainable way. And that will also come through the reporting that we provide as well. So that needs to come through.
Can I ask another question? It is about the auditor, because I can remember when I was Deputy Mayor, we had, and Councillor Calvert's not here, but we had a lot of questions from the auditor, and I think a point of emphasis at the very least raised about our commitment.
Yeah, so I should probably disclose a conflict because some of those conversations were with me on
Yes.
the other side of this. So I do want to highlight that I was the person providing that information. Or providing that advice from the other side. The concern in 2008, I think it was 2018's long-term plan, was that within the long-term plan itself, the council had not recognised the deed and the obligations within its consultation process. And the auditors at that time drew the conclusion that they did not think that that was a fair reflection of the commitments of the council. The council did address that in their final long-term plan and complied with the requirements, you know, and had
recognised our at least 440 million
absolutely.
commitment.
So the auditor could say, yep, it's been accounted for and addressed in the assumptions.
Sorry to ask another question, but I want to clarify. The $440 million commitment was presumably outside of the ring fencing, or was it? It's within the ring fencing. That's the bit that's still confusing me.
I would say it's within the ring fencing.
It's part of the deed of grant, so that it was provided as part of that, and the deed of grant had an obligation for us to ring fence.
Okay, so
it
we
was
need to
used-
transfer it from general council funds into the ring fence.
It will be sitting within the ring fence because that's how we funded HUP 1.
Okay.
Yeah.
So although we're saying it's ring fenced going forwards, that there still had to be that transfer into it, which is kind of historical.
Correct.
But has never actually taken place. Okay. Thank you.
Cool.
Has it taken place now? Have we popped that in?
It's part of the ring fence.
So from now on, we're kosher with regard to what we had to commit to do.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're always kosher.
Thank you.
If it's all right, councillors, we'll move on to the future agreements as well, though I do appreciate the context, taking your time to dive into that. Thank you.
Great. So unfortunately, it's quite small on the screen up here. Originally, it was prepared as a sort of a PDF Word document. So and
Should
it would
be
likely
also in your emails,
Yeah.
councillor.
Yeah, correct. So, so I'll just step through the key facets of the report, and we tried to keep this one like effectively do a dashboard type report where landing all the salient information on one page with a number of appendices to provide further depth where we thought it was warranted. So I guess on this dashboard, providing an overview of the progress in the last period, an overall health status, red, amber, green, with comments on the status and any change in that status, what we perceive to be the top 5 strategic risks, the KPIs that were sought as part of the resolution. So those range from the overall program cost, contingency, where our contingency is currently sitting, the NPV, changes to typology, what we're expecting the completion of the program to be, proposals received from external parties, tenant complaints, tenant disruption costs, and also I guess what we're looking in terms of what is our focus for the period ahead for the next 3 months. The appendices themselves provide, I guess, a cumulative cash flow, both what is included within the LTP, what we're forecasting to spend, both in CapEx and OpEx, and also some I guess further definition on the top 5 risks. So effectively those top 5 on the front page there spelt out in more detail. The if-then scenarios, what our mitigations are, etc. Any questions on that so far?
Would it be okay if we jumped through a few more slides and then did another group of questions? Is that all right?
Yeah, sure. So I can perhaps I'll just provide I'll jump through the slides and then provide a bit of a progress update, if that's, that's the visual on the cumulative cash flow. This is effectively the 50 projects which are set out along the timeline. The coloured bars are effectively the projects which are active, and the greyed out bars are the projects which are inactive. And there's some definition on this is a baseline program as well. So effectively it will show when we set in the program business case we were planning to start the projects relative to how they're tracking. And the last slide here is the risk register.
Cool. First party, Councillor Pennant.
Sorry, Terry. There's some questions I had about the first section. I put my hand up, but maybe you didn't see me. Am I allowed to ask them now?
Yes, sure.
Sure. Just two, about the accountability, is there any consequence if things go wrong?
Could you clarify what you mean by that?
Well, I just mean if there's to be accountability, I don't know, if things don't run to plan, is there any consequence for people involved? Sort of reputational damage?
Not quite sure how to answer that. That's probably something Matt might need to answer for us. The whole. I would, my accountability to you and to Matt to deliver a project obviously is something I would take seriously. I think the whole point of the reporting, Councillor Pennant, is to give you visibility of things that are coming up. We designed the framework so you can see things coming up ahead of time, so things don't go not to plan. That is the whole point. I'm not sure how to answer the question of what happens if things don't go to plan.
Yeah, I guess just the public are probably interested. And then just the other question is also about accountability to our tenant community, that we are making sure that we are doing our best, as I'm sure people will, obviously, but just that we are clear that we have some obligations here too.
Yeah.
Just wanted to make that point.
Okay. Just to respond, I think through you, Chair, I think you knowing what's going on with the project is how you're accountable to your tenants. I mean, this has been visible to you, so you've got the information.
Need to note they're not our tenants anymore.
Sorry, yep.
They're Te Toi Mahana's tenants.
Yep, great point, sorry.
Councillor Brown.
Thanks, sorry, I've just got to shoot at 2 o'clock, but just one question. So this is great. This is really fantastic, actually, but one question is, obviously what I'm keen to know is that, because you are disclosing the project sequencing, is that which is obviously public, so hopefully other people out there in the market will be like, whoa, hey, these guys are looking to, do this job. Where on this do we get reports about proposals you've received? Is it on the dashboard, or is it going to be a sort of a separate kind of page? I think that's a really important part of the mix.
It's currently on the dashboard, so it's up front, and I guess if we find we can't fit the content which we think we need to communicate onto the front page, it will likely have an appendix with it as well. So, but I guess the idea is you read this front page and it gives you all the information that you probably should know, and then if there's something which you're really interested in, there's some supporting information that sits at the back to give a bit more detail to the commentary that's up front.
So just one tiny little related question. One of the struggles which we had with, I think it was Grenville, was actually emptying the building, which I guess is that a permanent problem? I mean, it must be very hard to sequence work if you don't know when you can actually start because you have tenants who refuse to move. I mean, how determinative are we about saying to people, next week we're starting work and you've got to be out of here?
The rehousing process has started now, so there's a range of different strategies which we're using to develop program certainty, and the Granville project was actually quite a good one to start with because it's given the organisation, or both organisations, both Te Toimahana and Council, a lot of lessons which effectively we can put into effect to smooth that process out. Will we fully eliminate those challenges? No, but yeah, there'll be a range of strategies we employ to give us that certainty. But you're right, if we get stalled on construction, that's a big deal.
Councillor Free.
Actually, I was just going to say something similar to Tim. I was very impressed to see the actual projects listed out, and the clarity that we've got now is something I don't think we've ever really had before. So can we please, well, on behalf of future councils, I won't be here, but I think it's great. Yeah. Thank you.
Councillor Rogers.
It's really cool to see the program schedule. I think one of the things that I'd be interested to see is particularly for sites that have quite a few bed spaces. I don't know how you could display it, but some way to differentiate between a project that is kind of in the design and pre-work phase and one that's in sort of an active construction phase. Because I think kind of what I would like to see as well is not just how many sort of housing units, because I think, you know, tranche 1, 2 and 3 are all technically underway under that program, but it's kind of hard to digest at what stage each of those things are in.
Yeah, we can look at how we bring that in and give some visual, I guess, definition to the active construction projects. Yeah, because many of these, apart from the tranche 1, are all in the kind of the design or procurement stages.
Yeah. And I'm assuming E-months is like equivalent months or something?
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yeah, it's months, elapsed months.
Elapsed months, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I just had a parte or suggestion off the basis of one of Councillor Pannett's, which was that the framing of the accountability agreement will be viewed externally as well, right, as public information. So just perhaps in that document to point to the mechanisms that tenants can have in terms of their accountability the other way around, conscious of the setup of the model and kind of centering tenant voices just to mirror that process. I don't have any other partai on the list.
Yes, one please.
Oh, cool. Who goes there? Is it Councillor Wineta?
Yes, it is.
Cool. We can't see you. Go for it.
Oh, you can't? Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I'm here. The question is it possible to get some perhaps some oversight and dare I say it, influence over how different typologies are progressing at what rates, noting, of course, that to optimally meet emergent needs at a given time, different typologies might be required as a matter of priority?
That's an interesting one. Yeah, we'll give that one some thought. I guess the typology, yeah, it is something that we'll keep eyes on relative to, you know, what's coming through on the wait list, and also, you know, Te Toimahana at the coalface, where does the demand sit, so we can state what we perceive the future need to be, and over a particular period, if that's what is being sought.
Yeah, thanks. I think that'd be useful. Cheers.
Kia ora koutou. Okay, I see no further partai. If there were any comments that you wanted to leave us to wrap up with?
I guess just the final couple of slides here just show some progress of the work that's taking place. Granville demolition, which we're hoping to hand back to 10th December this year, so it's all going well on that site. Buildings are down, and right now we're into the removal of the civil component of the site, so retaining walls and pipes, redundant pipe work and the like. And then some of the vacant standalone housing upgrades. So on the left-hand side there, what these properties were looking like before they had construction crews go through, and then on the left-hand side, some of the finished interiors. So good kind of paint, upgrades to bathrooms and the interiors. So these will start to form part of our capacity, particularly in the to support the rehousing and for the vacant for the standalone houses in the portfolio generally, which is about 130 houses within the program. So this is a good head start on that sort of work stream.
I saw a hand up from Councillor Young.
So just asking about I think it's Punjab Street house. So I saw there's a lot of bracing on the chimney. Was the chimney taken down?
The top portion of it, just to below the roof line.
Okay,
that was taken off.
Ngā mihi. Final call for folks online. I'm not hearing any, but no, ngā mihi. Thank you very much for coming to talk to us today, and appreciate all of the work that went into the report as well, and this briefing in lieu of that. Thank you.